In craft, we seek to explore the relationship of the process to materials.
We seek to explore the relationship of the process to materials, of hand
We
to
seek to
form.
explore the relationship of the process to
We
materials.
seek to explore the
of hand to
relationship
form,
of the
of eye to
process to
object.
materials.
Hand to form, of eye to object.
You can often tell before you meet somebody what kind of personality they've got by the kind of craft they've chosen.
David Gates. I suppose you can't help for your character to come out through your work, I suppose, if it's something that you do every day of the week and you care about.
Margo Selby. Weavers tend to be introverted, quiet, shy, studious people. And I would say that I'm the opposite. For me, I suppose it's like a meditation which I need to give my life an element of calm.
Gail Baxter. Determination rather than patience is the quality that lace makers need most. It's the how you produce the stitch rather than what you produce it with, for me. And yeah, I like the complicated. Definitely, no two ways about it.
Stella Harding. I think of my hands as my main tools. I think I once described my practice to somebody as organised chaos. And so I think there's something in my personality that is drawn to chaos, but then I like to sort it out and organise it a bit.
Quarini. Particularly the coloured pieces I do, where I'm combining the threads together. I don't really have a pattern to start with, I just set off and start. Yes, I think it probably does reflect my character, that I just go for it and see if it works.
Bobbin winder.
Threads.
Tape measures.
Coffee jars, biscuit tins.
My hands.
Scissors. 24 shaft dobby loom.
Tenon saw, pillar drill, bandsaw.
Bobbins.
Pins.
Pen. Pencils.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Warp winder. 8. Reed.
Plaiting.
Pleats.
Planing.
Cardboard box.
Half stitch.
Whole stitch. Double cloth.
2, 3, 6.
Twining.
Threading.
Wedging.
Weaving.
Measuring.
Finishing.
The room quite often feels different between scruffy and clean, full up and empty. And there's just kind of junk all over the place, really, bits of half-finished work.
It's my place of work.
I surround the space with all of the yarns and the materials which I use. They're as much inspiration as other external things which I look at to create my patterns and textures.
plum purples, vivid scarlet, acid greens, electric blue, golden yellows, plum purple.
I've always had a very strong relationship with colour.
I think I like working with strong colour.
Varying types of brown.
There is always a neutral, a bright, pastel, a dark colour.
People do still expect it to be white.
When you start to look closely, some of the materials are just absolutely brilliantly vibrant. Plum purples, vivid scarlet, acid green, electric blue, golden yellow, scarlet, acid green, vivid scarlet, golden yellow, scarlet, acid green, vivid scarlet, golden yellow, electric blue.
On or off, lifted or lowered, 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch. 2 threads of colour, then 2 threads and a stitch, 2 threads of colour, 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch. There is a lot of mathematical 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch. Processes that you need to apply to creating a fabric. When you're designing patterns, in order for them to look beautiful, it's very, very important that the number of threads is divisible into the proportion of blocks that you want.
I don't think if you look at a piece of furniture, particularly, you see maths manifested in it in the same way that you can read the results of a piece of knitting or weave or a number of other types of practices. Typically, I suppose, textile practices are the most kind of visibly sort of manifested through the idea of a binary count system, or a sort of on-off count or to assign. So I suppose the kind of most obvious manifestation is if a joint doesn't fit, someone's interpretation would be that I haven't measured it
Exploring
accurately.
space, exploring spatial dimensions and geometry.
Count or to assign. But there's also that thing coming into play of non-measured accuracy as well. You can measure something and it can still not be quite right.
4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch. 1,000 ends from left to right, one after the other. You're placing them, you're putting them onto the loom, and you're placing them in a precise position. 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch.
I'm not sure that I actually am maths phobic.
4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch.
I think I was more afraid of maths teachers.
The lines on rulers have a width.
And the way maths was taught to me than the mathematics itself.
The pencil has a width.
4 and a stitch, 4 and a stitch.
There's measuring and there's measuring, and at some point the numbers become useless. It's this idea of precision rather than being able to measure it.
Exploring spatial dimensions and geometry. If you think of maths as a science of pattern, then I'm really good at maths. Exploring space, exploring spatial dimensions.
I think you're using arithmetic to get somewhere else. It's not about arithmetic, it's just a way of moving information from one situation to another.
Exploring space, exploring spatial dimensions and geometry.
The thickness of a pencil has a width to count or to assign.
Divided into 2 will make 21 crosses. 2, 3,
to count or to assign.
3,
8,
2 and
4 and a stitch.
Exploring space, exploring spatial dimensions and geometry.
The thickness of a pencil has a width.
16, 17, 18, 19.
So many twists to make a particular stitch. So many twists between here and there. So there is constantly a little bit of underlying counting going on.
2 over 1. 2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 1.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 1.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
Or to assign.
It's a nice logical process. A flows into B, B flows into C.
2 over 3.
Beautifully logical.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 3.
2 over 1.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
We don't think of it as a mathematical process.
2 and 4 over 1
We just take it for granted.
4 and a stitch.
Exploring space, exploring spatial dimensions and geometry.
2
The thickness of a
over 3.
pencil
2
has a
over
width.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
2 over 3.
And I think that's what we're doing when we're making. We're grasping knowledge. I'm grasping, holding on to some kind of very deep-rooted sense of mathematics that I can't think with my mind, but I'm grasping onto it with my
Four and a
hands,
stick,
exploring
four and a stick,
space,
four and a
exploring
The lines on
spatial
rulers have a
dimensions
width.
and geometry.
The
2 over
thickness of a
3,
pencil
2
has a
over
width.
1,
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
2 over 3,
2 over 3,
2 over 1.
2 and 4 over 1 and 3.
Maths can be a really, really beautiful thing. Balanced equations and arguments for how art and science and mathematics sometimes overlap, but there's also moments when you can't reduce experience to numbers or you can't codify experience. The mathematicians' patterns, like the painters or the poets,
Must be beautiful. The ideas,
Like the colours or the words, must fit together in a harmonious way.
Beauty is the first test.
There is no permanent place in the world for ugly mathematics.